You're listening to the Inside Commerce podcast hosted by experienced consultants James Gerd and Paul Rogers. Inside Commerce is your fast track to digital knowledge, featuring interviews with leading e-commerce retailers, industry thought leaders, and the C-suite of key tech companies to explore the latest in digital strategy, customer experience, and tech. Discover what the latest trends really mean and get practical advice based on experience to help fine-tune your e-commerce strategy and tech stack. Follow us on LinkedIn and reach out to James or Paul if you'd like to discuss an e-commerce project. We hope you enjoy the latest episode. Thanks for tuning in to the Inside Commerce podcast, sponsored by Centra and Greben. More about them later. Got another interesting topic this week. I say it every week, but I generally do love the conversations we have on this podcast. So speaking to a technology company that I've known for years, who I really rate and have worked with on several client projects. Clayvu, who a lot of you know from Product Discovery Engine, have a new product on the market called Asklo, and I'm going to let the founders of the business and CEO and CTO tell you more about it. But the topic is around how can you deliver a smarter customer experience online and integrating AI chatbots into on-site user journeys to improve user outcomes, but also to bring efficiency to businesses to automate processes which historically would have taken a lot of human effort to do. So rather than me try and do the elevator pitch of what Asklo is, Nile, let's start with you. Please, can you give a bit of an introduction to our listeners? Some will know you, some won't. Who you are, what you do, and then do you want to position Asklo, and then we can come and do it. We'll do the intro to you, Niraj, when we come on to your first question.
Sure. Thank you so much, James, for having us. My name is Nilay, one of the founders at Clayvu. And Asklo is a very interesting product. It's sort of part of our larger mission of, democratizing discovery. That's what we started with. And our goal has been to improve the site-wide conversion from, every stores. And when you think about improving site-wide conversion, and we focus exclusively discovery as our core focus, every touch point of the discovery we want to optimize. So we did product search, collections, recommendations, and then we found that, product pages, they lose 30% of the visitors that come directly from marketing, paid ads, or social ads. Bounce rate is as high as 30%, so you lose that. You lose the insight. It's like a dark art for marketeers, right? The customer was on my product page and he or she left, but why? Is it just pricing? That's we assume by default. Why actually customer left? Can I somehow go back to the customer? So we had these conventional chatbots that try to, help the customer. We have Clayvus of the world who tries to take the email and then go back to the customer. But why? And can we actually capture the customer at that moment itself? And that's where we came across FAQ section, so that product page is getting messier. They have a lot of information and shoppers really don't kind of pay attention to it. And this is where we kind of, thought that, how we can build the FAQ kind of to the modern age, which is like a true AI age. And that's where you have the kind of the element of conversation also embedded into it. And that became Asklo. So in nutshell, what it does is that it adds little widget on your product page, and then it's a live FAQ. AI takes care of kind of generating the questions. And if the shopper has any particular question, they can also ask there, and it takes care of answering it. And then there's a backend panel where you can actually see the whole product and the performance and yada, yada.
Yeah, I really like this idea. And for those of you listening, we are going to get into more more depth about how it works, the AI, the benefits, and also some case studies. So do stay tuned to listening to a couple of really interesting ones. What I love about this is, having been in e-commerce for many years now, I'm one of the old men of e-com now. I remember when Q&A stuff on PDPs became really popular, but actually the biggest challenge was scaling that when you've got tens of thousands of SKUs, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of visitors, and it becomes unmanageable. And a lot of people just switched it off. It was unmanageable, but the content was really useful. So the ability to generate this at scale, and this is why I wanted to have this conversation, because I think a lot of people listening will find this really interesting. And when we get into the case studies, go and try it out, because I had that classic, how good is the response? Is it really accurate? And there's a couple of sites where the quality of the response wasn't just felt like a bot. It felt like someone actually properly answering questions. So what I guess a question, one more question for you, Nilay, before we get to Niraj on this, is business cases, because we talked about something, there are so many AI tools out there, and it isn't a hype cycle. We all know it. There are people pushing AI tools that might not really serve any specific underlying need. So how can people find a genuine use case for this?
Grebin create digital flagship stores for iconic brands of today and tomorrow. We are the #1 Sentra agency in the world, with more than 50 Sentra implementations to date. We are also e-commerce design specialists, platform and tech partner agnostic. Try our new e-commerce design subscription. Visit grebin.com.
Yeah, excellent point, actually. And it's true. And I think, like in Cleo, we try to always develop anything that has a clear kind of use case and conversion value. But I think in general for retailers, it's sort of, there are so many applications. Everybody claims about AI. So how to kind of, cut through that noise. And as you rightfully said, there are so many tools also available. I think one of the things, or some of the things actually, I would kind of really focus on as merchant, if I were to choose, is to focus on outcomes, and what actual outcome this AI tool is going to produce for my shoppers or for me. How they perform. Don't just take it like what says on the tin. You actually test it on your own. And if possible, test on the real user data. And not just, what you think. Because if you think from the conventional applications point of view, you already had a lot of user test data available. For some of these new tools, you don't have actually right type of user data available. So it's very important to actually test it in the live user environment and understand that is it really working or not. One of the best ways, and this is I learned from Neeraj actually, to test any AI application is how it performs when the answer is no. When there is no information, how does your system perform? How graciously it fails? Does it admit that it's failing? I think, so when you try to, so in software engineering, we used to say exception handling. So I think in the same for AI tool, I would say that you try to find these exceptional cases, use cases, or edge cases, and understand how it performs. The idea is not that whether it's getting right or wrong. It's about how it actually performs in those settings. Will those responses, will those outcomes be acceptable to your shoppers or not? That's the key thing, in my view, when it comes to AI applications.
I really like that, failing gracefully. And I think that's couched in the whole customer service, customer care language as well, because it's not about technology, then it's about people. And you've got to cope for those edge cases. I like that. And we're going to get into a bit more detail now. So, Niraj, before I start asking you loads of questions, please introduce yourself to our guests, let them know what your role is as well.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much, James, for having me here. I'm one of the co-founders and CTO at Clevo. My background is actually in the field of AI. I started my career about 20 years back when role-based systems were very popular, but we have seen now things changing significantly. We see deep learning, we see introduction of large language models, and more importantly, it becoming available to everybody, whether you are an NLP scientist or not, but you are able to make use of that. So that's my background. I've seen that journey, and that's what we have been trying to use every latest technology that's available at Clevo.
Yeah, I love it when you speak to people who've been working with things like machine learning, AI for many, many years. It's quite amusing how there are some who are pretending it's like a new thing as well, which is fascinating because it's not. But you're right, the point you made, the democratization of this, about the accessibility to even small businesses now is amazing. So with that in mind, let's get into this, because PDPs, FAQs, giving people relevant information to help take away barriers to purchase. I think any retailer listener will be like, that sounds perfectly good sense. How is the AI actually working to generate these answers? Sentra is the only commerce platform built exclusively for fashion brands. Over 300 fashion brands run on Sentra, including icons like Paul Smith, Jeff, Avenue, and Nudie Jeans. Sentra solves business logic challenges for fashion brands like no other platform, and they are on a mission to help you scale up rapidly, globally, across all online and offline channels. take your fashion brand global, faster, further, stronger today.
Yeah. James, I'd like to start with seeing how the user lands on the page, on the website. There are multiple ways a user can reach to your PDP. It may be through the search box that we have up there. They may be directly landing from a Google, or for that matter, any search engine website. Our objective, as Nilay said, is to make sure that customer finds why they have landed there. So the Asklo application that we are talking about here today, it's a FAQ application which is allowing you to question the details about the product itself. But in our roadmap, what we have is that, as Nilay said, when you ask for something where the answer is no, how can we suggest something else to the customer, which is actually fulfilling the customer's requirement there. So the technology that I'm going to talk about now is not about only FAQ sections, which are available today in the market, but that is also taking into consideration what we have in the roadmap in the coming day. Now, when we talk about the AI technology behind this, there are a couple of buzzwords. One is RAG, that is Retrieval Augmented Generation. That's something that we are using behind the scene here. Now, what it means in simple terms is that earlier we had search boxes. Somebody would come there, they would think about the keywords that can get them the most relevant products. But with the introduction of large language models, it is allowing somebody to express what they want in the language they want to choose. It can be English, it can be their native language as well. It can be the actual product that they are looking for, or it can be as simple as the requirement that they are after. What large language models have made it possible is that it is able to understand the actual requirement and it is able to translate that into what we are looking for. The way RAG applications work is that they take this query into account. They fire that against our own merchant catalog database. They try to find out which products are more relevant for that query, and they try to deliver the answer in the natural language, in the language that customer had used over there, right? So RAG is what we are using behind the scene. But the very important point to mention here is that what we have developed here is far from the standard RAG applications that we see available in the market. It's very advanced. Behind the scene, it's not only the vector database that we are using, but behind the scene, it is actually using all that we have done in last 10 years with Clevo Search. So it is using the Clevo Search power there to find out which products are more relevant to the question. And it uses that as a context combined with large language model to provide the right answer.
Yeah, I find this really interesting. And this leads on to the next question quite nicely, because going back to when Q&A became important, and that you would have, like, the customer could submit a question, then a customer service team would type it in. Bizarre Voice in the early days were one of the first to launch it. It relied on so much knowledge in specific teams, where you had all this knowledge built up over the years, and it wasn't always well documented. So yes. I guess a key question this is, and retail and e-com leaders out there will want to know this, like, what depth of product information is required? What other information does Asklo need to make sure that it's able to deliver a quality of response, versus how much is it able to use AI to generate and infer information, even if it's not explicitly available?
So I think to understand that, we have to look into what kind of questions today we are seeing that customers are asking within our chat interface. So of course they are coming on a product page. They want to know about whether the product is meeting their requirement, which means the usability, and also that is, if the product is perfect for their own use case, then they would want to know about the availability of the product. Then they would also want to know about things like the pricing. Often they may want to negotiate the price as well. And how soon it can be delivered, for example. So these are the different kinds of queries that we are seeing. What that means that product data is required, of course. So whatever product catalog that we receive from the customers is something that we are indexing. But together with that, there are certain elements which are dynamic. For example, if I am logging onto a website from a particular location, that product may not be available to be delivered to me within a certain time frame that I'm expecting. So this information becomes very dynamic. So we are able to collect this information from the page directly for that individual user and utilize that to actually answer the question as well. Yeah, so in short, it's not only the product data, but whatever data is required to answer these different types of intents is what we are also using behind the scenes.
Yeah, makes sense. And Nilay, when you were initially showing me this, and I got really excited by the whole prospect of it, one of the questions I had was, because you have different products in the Klaviyo family. You've got your product discovery engine, which a lot of people know about. You've got Moi, which is, I guess, an AI assistant chatbot. And you've got Asklo, which is focused on one specific area at the moment. They're coming back to that failing gracefully. There will be times when it can't find an answer. There isn't, either it can't create one, it doesn't have the knowledge, or there isn't the content there to display it. And that's when a brand will say, right, how do I automate pushing them into my customer service flow? Now, maybe it's pushing them into a request form to submit an inquiry to follow up. So where are you going with this? How can brands hand over inquiries when the customer actually needs to speak to someone who's got more expertise?
Yeah. So we experimented two different kind of, methods, if you like. So one is like this embedded widget method, which is a live FAQ, what we call it. And the other method we had was Ask Product AI. So you have a button coming on the product, over the product title, and then you click on a button and you start, typing your questions. Now, in that method, we found that people were more actually, even though whether the answer is there or not, but there were more inquiries going towards that, okay, I want to talk to a human agent, because they were seeing that more as a chatbot. When we made this as an embedded widget as part of the product page itself, that became like a live FAQ, we are seeing less of that. But we are actually, and many chatbots now have become modern, like Zendesk and Gorgias, and all these platforms have become more modern, who are supporting the handover mechanisms as well. So you could actually transfer the handover to them. I'm still struggling to understand that, because the experience would still be different. And from the shopper point of view, so I feel that seamlessness in the experience is very important. And hence, I would say that these chat companies could use these kind of API within their experience itself. So that as a shopper, you are not confused, that, okay, you understand what I mean. Like if you're completely different experience on the chat, then as a shopper, you may just leave the store as well. And we also are getting customers who are saying that, look, I want AI to answer everything. So their expectations are rising up. And they said, okay, if there is a real edge case where AI cannot answer, you create a ticket, you send to us, and we will answer the question to the customer. These are, of course, more relevant to those categories where response is not very time sensitive, but it's also emerging now. Because earlier, again, I think if you think about like 2 years ago, the level of response, human-like responses that you can give, is just changing. I think it's rapidly evolving to a point where you can almost actually provide human-like response. So as long as the contextual knowledge is available to the system, you can actually, go pretty far now.
Where the future of this is fascinating for me, because the user journey bit, you're 100% right, is you can't just have push from one bot to another bot. And but actually using the APIs, and whether it's gorgeous as Zendesk, have the API ability to trigger tickets.
Correct.
The ability to do that, but I guess have a logic of what you can trigger a ticket for, and be able to fire that. So you're in the Asklo journey, and you have the ability. Would you like to hear back from customer service? Yes. Okay. Give us your name, your email address, etc. Using the standard form. I think that will be a really nice and smooth journey.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, you're looking forward to seeing the next iterations of this. So let's come on to the user intent signals. This is an area I think is really interesting. We did a podcast a few months back with Made with Intent, David Mannheim, who's the founder there, and they're all about just doing all the data modeling around user intent signals to pass on to other systems, for example, yours. I'd love to understand how you do it. So what signals are you using to understand user intent, and what are they used for?
So I think the most important bit is what they have asked so far, understanding their past history of all the questions. And it's not about the questions they have asked on this particular product itself. We have to understand what they have been asking, the kind of the questions they have been asking on the other products as well, because that gives us some information like where this customer is coming from. The second thing is what type of products they have been visiting on the website itself. For example, price is something that you can easily identify the price range for this particular customer, what price range they are looking for, the kinds of the product they are looking for. So that would be the second bit. Also, the advantage that we can bring to the customers who are using Klevu search already is that we allow merchants to actually merchandise their own store, whereby they want to promote certain types of products as well. So when it comes to recommending products in our session, we are able to not only bring the personalized products to the customers to their preferences, but also we are able to look into what merchant wants to promote. So that's also something that we track. Finally, there's something we call self-learning as part of Klevu, whereby we are identifying the trend on the website. So whatever is actually in trend, whatever the other customers, and that's where the collaborative filtering actually comes into playing its role. It is telling us what is in trend on the website. So that is also something we are utilizing here when it comes to recommending the suggestions to the shoppers.
Yeah, I like this because if I understand correctly, because at the moment you're focused on answering questions, but you're launching product recs soon. Can you talk us through a bit of that, actually? Because I think, again, this is another thing that will be really interesting to e-com merchandisers, is that is it going to be, will there be rules where people can control what products are recommended? Is it all going to be automated using the AI? And is it going to be personalized based on, just in the way that Klevu has personalization? Will personalization be part of those recs in Asklo?
James, you are absolutely correct. So today, when we talk about the search experience, we are actually monitoring all the activity on the website by that customer. And accordingly, we are bringing products not only in the search, but also on the category pages and also in the recommendations. The similar or the same technology will be used here as well, where we will identify what kind of products the customers are interested in. Earlier, personalization was based on the kind of the search terms that customers have used, the kind of the products that they have clicked on. But now you can imagine they are actually interacting with the application. So they are actually telling us a lot more about their own requirements. So definitely personalization will be the key here. We want to show very relevant results to the customer. But when we talk about the rule-based kind of thing, there are two things I want to highlight here. Number one, whatever merchants are merchandising behind the scene, they may want to promote certain brands or they may want to promote certain types of products on the website. So yeah, that will be also taken into consideration. But there is something called custom intents that we are going to, today it's possible merchant is telling us that, hey, if the question is about providing certain types of promotions, please answer it this way. But this is something we will be bringing into our something we call Asklo Hub, where merchants will be able to tell us how to answer certain questions as well. So that's also something that we will be considering when we provide answers to the customers.
Excellent. Yeah, that's really interesting. And so, Nile, rather than me asking this question about whether it can be used with other product discovery engines, I know that you said it is. So you don't have to be using Klaviyo to use Asklo, right? You could use it with, if you have a different product discovery engine, the intention is Asklo could take nicely. Yeah, I really like that actually, because it's a really smart way to do that product family, because it can enhance what you've already got with Klaviyo, but it doesn't limit people if they are using something else.
Correct. Yeah.
So let's skip to the really interesting bit. I teased it earlier to people about case studies. You showed me, but obviously most people are listening on a player rather than watching a video, and we're not doing screen shares. So can you talk us through what for you is the best current implementation, like how it's working, and what impact it's had for the retailer?
Yeah, sure. So I'm going to talk about one recent case study, that is Travel Pro. It's a Canadian kind of high-end luggage store, and they have currently implemented this on European storefront, and they saw in about 1 month usage time, they saw 30% reduction in bounce rate from PDP itself. They also saw that about 10% of their entire revenue was actually driven by Asklo, meaning how we measure is very conservatively. So those who actually asked a question, not just AI-generated question, those who actually asked some question, and then they bought the product as well, the same product that they asked question for. So we use that information. And about 43,000 users actually interacted with Asklo widget in this period itself. And these are unique users interactions that we had. On a larger scale, we have now so far answered about 250,000 questions from different users, and about maybe 1.5 to 2 million different sessions that we have already captured so far overall. And we are seeing about 5,000 questions per day on average being asked by users on this system today.
Yeah. That's it. That's impressive. And I actually, I road test it because I'm a typical consultant. I listen and I go, does it really work that well? And then I have to go look at it myself. My wife laughs at how deeply cynical I am in life. But yeah, when I looked at it, I asked some basic questions, and I'd expect it to obviously give some standard answers. But what I really liked is when I asked something like, my children are clumsy. If they drop it, is this going to dent badly? So, pretty natural language, not a really like keyword focused thing. And the consideration in the response was really smart. It articulated why it was going to be protected from denting, the specific facets and attributes of the product that would enable it to be protected. A really, really like nuanced answer rather than just, yes, it will be protected. And that I really liked. So I would suggest anyone go and have a look on Travel Pro and ask it some tough questions.
And actually, you are right. One of the in one of the electronic consumer appliance store, somebody asked that about the fridge, and somebody asked that, can my kids hang on the door, because they usually do. And I think this is what I meant earlier, that test the edge cases.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that it needs to answer perfectly, right? But test the edge cases to understand how actually it performs. So I think it's very important to do that.
Yeah, 100%. It's always good. I mean, going through a re-platform at the moment, and you'll know because you've been involved in so many projects where you are part of the tech stack being built, and you do all the core user journeys, and it's great. We're all happy, and then you mess around in the way that some crazy users do, and you go, oh, we might have broken that. So yeah, 100% edge case testing is great. And I also, so at the moment, from what I've understood, is you've got a Shopify integration. What's the is it able to be integrated with other platforms? Is it Shopify centric?
Great question. So it is not. So as an app, it's Shopify app. It works seamlessly. Within 5 minutes to 30 minutes max, you are up and live and running. If you're on Shopify, if you're not on Shopify, you can also sign up and try and integrate. It requires some technical knowledge for you to integrate it. Shopify is literally click and go. It's like literally click and play. Or if you're a Cleve customer, then we already have your catalog. So it's very easy to integrate by just creating the widget and adding the Cleve API key, and it's just up and running there. And of course, then depending on the platform, whether you're Magento or Shopify, BigCommerce, there's a script that you are adding. But it's pretty lightweight, to be honest, like extremely lightweight. We are not seeing more than 30 minutes for almost any integration that we have done so far.
Interesting. And Niraj, I know that you've got some data about the impact on page load, because this question will come up. It comes up all the time when people are being told just to add scripts. Is okay, but is this going to really slow down my pages? Can you share a metric on that? What's the measured impact at the moment?
Yeah, we have done a thorough testing of this, James. The short answer is not at all. There's no major impact on the page speed. But the additional time that it is adding to your website for the first time it is loaded is 14 milliseconds. And then the JavaScript actually gets cached by the browser. So when the user is actually visiting the second page, they won't see any latency related to Asklo.
Nice, excellent. It's always nice to have those measured metrics rather than just a generic statement of it doesn't do much. So let's move on to brand controls, because having worked on a few projects with people around like assistant chatbots, like the customer service ones, brand controls around what like pre-scripted answers and also like tone of voice and language and stop words that can't be used are really important to customer care teams. So where you're at now, and I appreciate this is a product that's in roadmap development all the time. What can people do now? What have you got in mind for the future?
When it comes to the customizations, James, so today, as Nilay said, it's a one-click installation. So out of the box, what they get is that they are able to ask any questions about the product itself. Merchants may want to change the CSS to make it a bit more looking like their own website. So that's something they are able to do it as well. In our dashboard, we actually show what questions have been asked for which products, what were the answers given as well. And this is where if merchants wants to come and they want to change the way the answer should be given for that particular product, for that particular question, they are able to do that as well. But as I had mentioned earlier, there may be some custom intents. For example, something to tell customer about the delivery of the product, something to tell them about the promotions. So those custom intents, they are also able to configure that behind the scene. Also, earlier we talked about collecting some information from the front end, from the page itself. For example, let's say merchants are using some third-party tool to calculate what's going to be the shipping charges, or they are collecting. This is very common in where the branded things are being sold, that specific descriptions of the products are collected in real time from the brand itself. So if they want to submit this this kind of information from the front end in real time, that's also they are able to customize as it stands today. Yeah.
Excellent. That control over it to do preset questions and answers and edit answers is really, really important.
Yeah.
So it brings me on to my final key question, which I think is for you, Nilay, is the integration side, and what you've got planned there. What can it do integration wise now? Are there any like pre-connected integrations with other third parties, or do you have any specific ones in mind that you're working on?
Yeah. We are getting a lot of requests from customers who are going live daily right now. But one of the things I'm thinking is like, what's the last kind of mile for marketeer? Now, if I'm marketeer, now I know that shopper is on my product page, and the shopper actually had this question, whether then shopper left or shopper bought. Either could be the scenario, right? I now have that information, but I don't know who is the shopper. And in any of these live FAQ or any of these systems, asking user about the email is sort of detrimental to actually even having them using the system. You always lose out when you try to ask for the emails and so on. One thing we have planned is sort of, seamlessly integrate that with Klaviyo. Because many of the Shopify customers we have, they use Klaviyo, for example. And if they are using Klaviyo and the shopper is on that store, they already have the authentication done, meaning they already have the user information. So in Asklo Hub, in the backend, we provide, all the questions that are asked, the actual sales and so on. But there we have one column called user ID, where we are actually just generating the user ID at the moment. Instead of that, if you can actually show, okay, James at something.com actually asked this question, I feel that your marketing follow-up could be hyper personalized. It's like literally one-to-one personalized. There is nothing more you can go closer than that, right? You go and ask a question that is this available in red variant or red color instead of, blue color. Now I exactly know that James was the person who wanted this fridge, which had an ice dispenser, and he wanted the red color. Like, you can't go closer than that. And you are not guessing anymore. You have the information from James, exactly what he wanted. So that's what kind of we are thinking, kind of making it personalized email follow-ups, how we can do that. That's one. Second is that we already have built actually negotiation system within this as well. So you can actually, if we can, the trick is to understand when you offer the negotiation strategy, that you actually lower the price as well for the customer. That's something we were experimenting, and we have done some work on the machine learning level, but we are not we are bringing it out. We are getting a lot of requests, as I said earlier, of, turning this into, so right now Asklo is at the product level, right? We are getting questions about, can you provide it at the store level? Same Asklo, can you provide it store level? And that becomes Moi. So Moi will become then a fully conversation. We already have Moi today, but it's more rule-based system. It's more rule-based than lesser gen AI-based. So we want to flip that and make Moi also fully open-ended, kind of, gen AI-based with some rules still in preservation to ensure lesser hallucination and accurate information. So, and then, of course, we would love to work with, chatbot systems, like I said, but I want to make sure that the experience is seamless. I don't believe that you should have like different kind of windows opening for shopper that actually, mess up the experience.
It'll be basically like what you have now when you land on a site with cookie pop-up, newsletter discount pop-up.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's such an important thing is the handover piece. And this is where the e-commerce and customer service teams listening need to really think it through, is what is the user journey they want to have. and what help they want to provide. It's such an important question.
And it works because like one of the Shopify reviews that we have on our marketplace that I saw yesterday was that they could reduce 40% service time from the humans, 40%.
Yeah.
So it already is giving the impact, but I think we want to kind of go next step. And I think that's where we would kind of go with a wider ecosystem and start building the use cases there.
Yeah. Yeah, agreed. Really appreciate you both coming on the podcast. Always enjoy listening to you and hearing where you're going with your products. If anyone here is actually genuinely interested and wants to like have a demo and see it, how do they reach out?
Just go asklo.ai and just go from there.
Cool. For those of you listening, on our landing page on the website, there will be a link to that. So go and reach out, ask some more questions, have a look for yourself on Travel Pro. It's the EU website, so I think it's like eu.travelpro.com, I think.
Yeah.
Debate. Just before we came on, I asked it one about the childproofing of the case, and the answer's great. I'll stick that when we put our post out on LinkedIn. I'll stick that example on because I think it's quite cool.
Yeah, and it works on all European or all languages for that matter. So, yeah. All right, but thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks, Nilay. Thanks, Niraj. Always a pleasure. Take care. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, James. Thank you.
You're listening to the Inside Commerce podcast hosted by experienced consultants James Gerd and Paul Rogers. Inside Commerce is your fast track to digital knowledge, featuring interviews with leading e-commerce retailers, industry thought leaders, and the C-suite of key tech companies to explore the latest in digital strategy, customer experience, and tech. Discover what the latest trends really mean and get practical advice based on experience to help fine-tune your e-com strategy and tech stack. Follow us on LinkedIn and reach out to James or Paul if you'd like to discuss an e-commerce project. We hope you enjoy the latest episode.